Hello everybody, this is Dan from ESLVietnamZone.com, and in today's video I'm going to tell you how I introduce myself to a new ESL class. It is some kind of ice-breaking lesson. Many times in your life as an English teacher abroad, it happens to have a new class and of course you have to introduce yourself. You can very well tell your new students what your name is and a few more details, and then you are good to go. But why not make an entire lesson out of this must-have introduction? Here is how I do it, and students always like it. First, write on the board some information about yourself, as in the example below. Then 38, Romania, 2005, married, 43, children, Sonia, 8, Sky Garden, Fumihung, District 7, English teacher, graphic designer, student. Once you have this information on the board, you can start the lesson. I usually don't say anything at the beginning of the lesson. I just enter the classroom and start writing this information on the board. Your students will definitely know what everything you just wrote on the board means. All you have to do is to tell them to ask you questions based on the words from the board. Based on the words from the example, the questions would be: what is your name? How old are you? Where are you from? How long have you been living in Vietnam? Are you married? What is your wife's name? How old is she? Do you have children? What is her name? How old is she? Where do you live? What is your job? What is your wife's job? What does your daughter do? These should be their questions, but you might be surprised by the question they ask. This stage of the lesson will probably take the first 15 minutes of the lesson. That is not a problem because your students had opportunity to practice asking questions. Now they have to introduce themselves. Based on the first part of the lesson, ask your students to write a short paragraph about themselves. You can allow them to work in pairs if they feel more comfortable and give them about 10 minutes to complete the task. You can ask them to read in front of the class the paragraph they just wrote, but that would be very boring, I will say. Instead, you can ask a student to come to the board and do exactly what you did at the beginning of the lesson. Have a student write on the board the keywords and the other students ask questions. To make the lesson more interesting, allow students to ask extra questions. You can even decide what kind of questions they are allowed to ask. For example, they can ask only extra questions that start with "Have you ever?" As you can see, through a simple thing as introducing yourself to your new students, you can create a lesson that is not only engaging but also useful, giving your students many opportunities to practice English language. That's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Talk to you next time.